About a year ago, I tried to call my friend Alex but got the wrong number. She had literally just gotten a new phone, service plan, and number. She didn't immediately give me the new number though, and I had to get it through our mutual friend Josie. When I dialed, somebody picked up, but it certainly wasn't Alex. It was a man's voice. I asked who it was, and the person said that I had the wrong number, and then hung up on me. I redialed Alex's number more carefully this time so that I wouldn't get it wrong again. This time Alex didn't pick up either. Nobody did, and I left her a message letting her know that it was me who called her and for her to add me to her new phone. About an hour later, she texted me back. We texted back and forth for a little while, and Alex asked me if she could come over to my place the next night. I said sure, and it would work out fine because I didn't have anything going on the next night. When the next night arrived, Alex texted me, saying that she was coming over. Then I didn't hear from her for a while. I was just sitting on my couch watching TV as I waited for her to get there. At last, she texted me. She told me that she was at my front door and to let her in. My door was actually unlocked, and I told her this. A few seconds after sending the text, the door opened. I looked over from the couch and saw somebody walking in, but it wasn't Alex. It was a taller, larger man who was wearing a baseball cap and had glasses on. He closed the door behind him and then started walking towards me. I was obviously really surprised. I didn't say anything to this guy though. I just went with my initial reaction to run away. He was maybe 30 feet away from me, and I was close to my bedroom, so I jumped off the couch and ran inside my room. I then shut the door and locked it. Within 5 seconds, he was at the door on the other side. He tried opening it, and when it wouldn't open, he started saying my name. "Maya, open the door." I screamed that I was calling the police. The guy tried opening the door again, and then started pressing on it. I began dialing 911. I didn't care if he heard what I was doing, but he seemed desperate to try to stop me. He then walked away from the door, and I was hoping that he was leaving. I began speaking with the 911 operator, letting them know what was going on. But only a few moments later, the man returned, and I started hearing loud bangs on my door. He must have been trying to break the door down. I of course mentioned this on the phone, and I was not going to hang up the call until the police arrived. As the bangs on the door got louder, I moved into the back corner of my bedroom and into the closet. Luckily, my closet had a door on it, and it was big enough for me to go inside. The door didn't lock though, but it still made me feel a lot safer. I could still hear the guy, and he wasn't letting up. I was sure that he was going to break the door down. At last, I stopped hearing the banging, and I heard some commotion in the main part of my apartment. The police must have arrived. I couldn't hear all that well because I was still hidden in my closet. I was surprised by how fast the police got there. It was probably like 3 or 4 minutes total. I finally emerged to see several officers in my room and others in my apartment. They had arrested the guy, and I saw that my bedroom door was heavily damaged. Thankfully, it held up just enough. I later found out that the guy had stolen my friend Alex's phone. I had never dialed the wrong number after all. It was right, I just reached the person who stole her phone. He had been texting me, pretending to be Alex as well. Alex was able to get her phone back, and I had to get my door replaced. This story takes place a long time ago. It wasn't before cell phones, but it was before cell phones were an everyday thing. I mostly just used my home phone, and there was speed dial, but more times than not, you would have to dial the whole number every time you wanted to call somebody. Well, this story was on a Friday night, and I was home with my sister. We were both in high school at the time, and our parents were gone for the night with friends. We always liked to order pizza when our parents were gone, and there was this one spot in particular that was our favorite. My sister asked me to call, and I dialed the number. Apparently, when I was dialing, though, I messed something up, but I didn't realize it. A male's voice answered, saying, "Hello." He sounded kind of confused, like he was wondering why I called. It seemed odd, but I said that I was calling to order a pizza. The guy responded, saying, "Okay." I went ahead with my order of a large pepperoni pizza. The guy just said, "Okay, what's your address?" I gave him my address, and he then said, "Okay." It was kind of awkward, but we then said bye and hung up. My sister and I went into the living room and started watching TV, waiting for the pizza to get there. We had the money and tip on the counter waiting as well. About 20 minutes went by. We were getting really hungry and hoping that the pizza would be there soon. I happened to go over and look out the window, just out of curiosity. Then I saw a car coming down the street, very slowly. When I saw it come to a stop in front of our house, I told my sister that the pizza was here. She got excited and ran to get the money. I expected the car to pull into our driveway, but it drove a little bit past our house. I also noticed that there was no pizza delivery thing on top of the car. Wait, I told my sister. The car then parked on the side of the road a little ways in front of our house. I watched the driver's door open and a man walk out. He began walking in the direction of our house, but he wasn't holding a pizza. I asked my sister to come and look, and she joined me at the window. We both watched the man walk into our front yard towards our front door. When he got closer, we both noticed that he was wearing a ski mask. When we noticed that detail, we ducked down at almost the exact same time. I was wondering what was going on. About 5 seconds later, there was a knock at the front door. My sister and I were whispering to each other, wondering who this guy was. After a few seconds of us not answering the door, he knocked again. Then we heard a voice say, "Pizza delivery." We knew this was clearly not a pizza delivery. We were not going to answer. About 30 seconds went by with nothing. Then he knocked again and said, even louder than before, "I'm the pizza guy with your pizza." He then knocked once more and said, "Open up." We were not going to, and we tried to be as quiet as we could. My sister and I were literally laying on the carpeted floor of our living room, trying not to make a sound. After maybe 2 or 3 minutes, he knocked again. Then, finally, we heard him walking away. I quietly went back to the couch and peeked out the window very carefully. I saw the man get back into his car and drive away. After my sister and I discussed what on earth just happened for a while, we decided to call the pizza place again. This time we got the number correct, and we realized what had happened. We ordered the pizza for real and got it a short time later. I'm not sure what number exactly I called the first time, but whoever I called decided to pretend to be a pizza delivery man with a ski mask on. To this day, I still wonder what his intentions were. What would have happened if my sister or I opened the front door? I'm really glad that we didn't. Several years ago, I was the victim of a wrong number call. My cell phone rang at about 9 p.m. at night. I was at home and by myself. I lived with a roommate in a 2-bedroom house in a suburb of a major city. When I looked at my phone, it had a number, but I didn't recognize it. I decided that I would answer anyways. I was kind of curious as to who was calling me. Spam calls generally don't take place at night. There was a slim chance it was somebody that I knew. When I accepted the call, I put the phone to my ear and asked who it was that was calling. At first, nobody said anything on the other end of the line. There was just silence. I repeated myself. After that, there was a few more seconds of silence. I was just about to hang up on them when somebody finally spoke. I could hear that it was a man's voice, but it sounded kind of raspy, almost as if they were trying to disguise their voice. They said, "Is this Jake?" I said no, and I thought they had the wrong number. The person responded, saying no. Then they asked, "Who is this?" I didn't give my name, but I said once more that I didn't know anybody named Jake, and they should dial the number again. The person didn't respond, but I heard them breathing heavily. I then hung up on them. This call was pretty creepy in itself, but it doesn't end there. The very next night, at an even later time of about 11 p.m., I got a call once more from a random number. I picked up, and after I said hi, whoever was on the other end hung up on me, only to call back about 10 minutes later. When they called back, they once again hung up, only about 5 seconds after I answered the phone. I decided to text the number and ask who it was because they kept calling me. They didn't respond to my text though. The next night, once more, I was called at an odd hour of the night. It was starting to annoy me now, and I didn't answer it. I blocked the number instead. But now, a different number called me, about an hour after I blocked the other one. It was really late now. I answered, but there was no talking on the other end. It was silence for a good 10 seconds before whoever was on the other end hung up. I decided to block this number too. After I blocked it, I thought that was the end. And for a while it was. A few days went by, and I didn't receive a single call from somebody that I didn't know. But one night, probably 4 nights after the last phone call, I heard a noise outside. I ignored it at first because it was just the sound of a car driving by. But when I glanced to the window casually, I noticed a car going really slow. It pulled right in front of my house and then just parked on the side of the road. This was very unusual and hadn't happened before. My roommate was gone at the moment. I walked over to the window and looked. It was a typical looking car, and it was night, so I didn't get a make or model. All I know is that it was just sitting in front of my house at nearly midnight. I opened up my front door to get a better view. When I did, the car suddenly pulled away. Now, to that point, I didn't suspect the car and the phone calls to be linked. But about an hour later, just as I was about to go to bed, the car returned. It pulled in once more to the exact same spot. It parked right in front of my house with the engine still running. I watched it out the window for a good 20 minutes. Nobody got out, and the car did not turn off. It just kept sitting there. I didn't want to go to bed with the car parked there like that. I also didn't think I could call the police for a car just parked on the street. I walked over and opened my front door again. Looking back, I don't know what I was going to do. I certainly did not want to approach them. But when I opened up the front door, the car sped away again. Some time went by, and I didn't see the car again, so I went to sleep. After that night, I never noticed the car parking in front of my house after that, and I never got another call either. I still think it was the same person, but what they were doing, I don't know.